Hi everyone, this is Mark with Ease Investing. Today, we're going to learn how you can make one simple change in your life and have things become less and less expensive for you. Have you ever wondered why things seem to appear to become more and more expensive? What if I told you that everything expensive today, your house, your groceries, your education, didn't actually become more valuable? It's not that these things became more valuable and that's why they became more expensive. It's that the US dollar has become weaker and weaker and weaker, and this has caused those things to become more expensive. Let me explain how you can make one change, and this one change allows things to become less expensive, and less expensive for you. Watch this video till the end and you will understand what very few understand. In 1971, something happened that entirely flipped the financial world upside down. Overnight, money stopped becoming a store of value and instead became a store of a liability. By the end of this video, you'll understand why it is a liability. Most people don't even know what happened. This is a story of how money became a liability and how you can protect yourself before it's too late. A question that I want to ask is, do you store your wealth in an asset or liability? And if you don't know the answer to that, that's okay. Watch the video till the end and let's see if this allows you to start questioning things. So let's get into it. Before 1971, every dollar was backed by real gold. It was considered each dollar to be an asset since it's backed by gold, and gold is an asset. But something in 1971 happened that is key, and that is President Richard Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. He called this a temporary suspension, but we know that was a lie, and the temporary suspension never ended. And the dollar, after that time, after 1971, was never backed by gold again. Instead, the dollar became backed by a promise of the US government that that dollar was worth something. This created a huge problem because this allowed the Federal Reserve or the government to print money. What happens to money that already exists when more money is printed? If you guessed, that money becomes less valuable. What else makes money less valuable are when banks lend out money. This makes the money that you have less valuable. So those are two key things to understand. Are when the Federal Reserve prints money, this makes the money that you currently have less valuable. And also when banks lend out money, this makes the money that you already have less valuable. Why did the US dollar become a liability? The US dollar became a liability because, as you know, the US dollar loses purchasing power over time. Since 1971, the US dollar has lost over 90% of value. That's right, if you had $100 in 1971, that $100 could only purchase $10 today. It has lost over 90% of value. That's huge. And also that when the Federal Reserve prints money and when banks lend out credit, both of those dilute your savings or make your money that you already have worth less. This should stand out to you like a sore thumb. When you save money, you are losing because your US dollars are decreasing in value. Let's take homes, for example. In 2020, the average US home cost $383,000. 5 years later, in 2025, the average price home was $512,000. Do you think that that price increase was because that home became more valuable? Obviously not. Everything in that house has gotten older. The walls, the brick, the roof. We know that the reason why that home went up in value is because the US dollar has become weaker and weaker. It's not that the home became more valuable, It's that the US dollar has become weaker, and that is why that home costs more money. Listen to that again if that doesn't make sense, because that's a key point. Things are not increasing in value. That's not the reason why they're becoming more expensive. It's that the US dollar is becoming weaker and weaker. Now just think, instead of saving your money in US dollars, what would happen with that same home if instead of saving it in US dollars, you stored your money in Bitcoin? Let's go ahead and look at the next slide. So the home in 2020 that cost $383,000 would have cost you 34.8 Bitcoin. In 2020, the average price of Bitcoin was $11,000. And if the average US home in 2020 was $383,000, that would have cost you roughly about 35 Bitcoin to buy the average price home. Now remember, in 2025, that the average price home, it went from $383,000 in 2022 to $512,000 in 2025. But what would happen with the Bitcoin? In 2025, it would only cost you 4.9 Bitcoin to buy the average price home. The average price of Bitcoin in 2025 is $103,000. And that is because the reason why it costs less Bitcoin to buy the average price home in 2025 than it did in 2020 is because Bitcoin is an asset that increases in value, and the US dollar is a liability that decreases in value. That is a key point. The US dollar is a liability that decreases in value. That's why it costs more US dollars today to buy a home than it did in 2020. And Bitcoin is an asset that increases in value, and that is why it costs a lot less Bitcoin to buy a home in 2025 than it did in 2020. If that doesn't scramble your mind, I don't know what will. And that is the power of saving your wealth in assets compared to liabilities. So in Bitcoin terms, homes get cheaper and cheaper over time. In US dollar terms, homes get more and more expensive, and that is simply because Bitcoin is an asset that increases in value, and the US dollar is a liability that decreases in value. So this slide should hit it home. In US dollars, homes and goods are more expensive over time. In Bitcoin, homes and goods get cheaper over time. Bitcoin is an asset, and the US dollar is a liability. Said in other words, in dollars, everything gets more expensive. In Bitcoin, everything gets cheaper. One system steals your money over time, and one system grows your money over time. This is why it matters. The reason why it matters is the US dollar loses purchasing power every year. Bitcoin is designed to preserve and increase purchasing power. Where you store your wealth determines your financial future. And this is my final thought. Everything gets cheaper when Bitcoin is where you store your money. And everything gets more expensive when the US dollar is where you store your money. Do you store your wealth in an asset or in a liability? Please like and